Hello, friends. This video is a collection of the most common cybersecurity attacks. I hope you enjoy it. Let's go.
Size does matter, because this type of attack involves sending data to the target system that exceeds the maximum allowable size. Friends, today we talk about the ping of death. In a normal network scenario, the ping command is used to send a small packet of data to the target device. This is called an ICMP echo request. The target responds with an ICMP echo reply. This is a common practice to check connectivity between devices. However, the ping of death takes advantage of how some systems handle exceptionally large ICMP packets. The attack involves sending an oversized ICMP packet to the target system. In the early days of the internet, some operating systems and networks did not properly validate the size of incoming ICMP packets. Attackers exploited this vulnerability to send ICMP packets larger than the allowable size. This causes buffer overflows, system crashes, or even remote code execution on the target system. Having said that, it's important to note that the ping of death is a relic of the past, because modern operating systems and networks have implemented safeguards to prevent such attacks. To protect against such attacks, it's important to always keep your systems up to date with the latest security patches. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember to use a password manager. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, friends, in this one we're talking about salami attacks. Yes, you heard me, salami. That's right. Just to let you know, this is the common term. But from a technical cybersecurity point of view, the attack is referred to as the salami slicing attack or the salami technique. Look, I can't find the image for a salami right now, but let's imagine that this is a salami. Basically, the salami slicing attack is a method used by cybercriminals to steal small amounts of money or resources from a large number of transactions or accounts over time. The whole idea is to make the theft go unnoticed by taking only a tiny fraction from each transaction. Cybercriminals can only hope that the victims or security systems won't detect these small losses. In these situations, hackers usually follow a structured approach for executing such an attack. First, they need access to the system. The hacker gains unauthorized access to a system, which is often a financial system where transactions are taking place. Then they start identifying the targets, which usually happens by identifying a large number of transactions or accounts within the system that they can exploit. Then they start taking small transactions or slices. Salami slicing attack. Instead of stealing a noticeable amount from a one resource or transaction. To execute this perfectly, they ensure they have low visibility. The key to the salami slicing attack is the very tiny amount behind each transaction. This starts to create a cumulative impact. Basically, what that means is over time, as the hacker continues to siphon off these small amounts of money from numerous transactions or resources, the cumulative effect becomes significant. The only challenge with this type of attack is detection. Basically, the traditional security systems may struggle to detect these attacks because the amounts stolen are often within the margin of error or considered negligible. But hey, with the existence of artificial intelligence, this may no longer be a challenge. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. I hope you found it useful. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, friends, for this one, we're talking about watering hole attacks in cybersecurity. But what does watering hole exactly mean? Watering hole is basically the location where targets gather and meet, much like animals gathering at a watering hole in the wild. From a technical point of view, A watering hole attack is a type of cyber attack in which the attacker compromises a website that is likely to be visited by their target audience. The goal is to infect the target's computer or network with malware by exploiting vulnerabilities in the website or its plugins. Okay, but what does that mean? Look, the whole idea behind watering hole attacks is when an organization has a solid cybersecurity structure and cannot be hacked, then this creates a problem for hackers. And because of this high level of security structure, hackers will look into other ways to hack into an organization. So, instead of attacking the target, the organization, they will infect a third party, which hopefully an employee or a staff inside the target organization can visit one day and then they become hacked. This third party is basically the watering hole. Remember the place where targets inside the organization meet and then become hacked? That third party can be a website, network, or email attachment, or even an application. Once they are hacked by visiting that third party, hackers now have access into your organization's network. If we were to put some imaginary steps into how a watering hole attack would work, it would be in the following order. Target selection, identifying the watering hole, compromising the third party, aka the website, malware delivery, avoiding detection, reconnaissance, data exfiltration, and finally, once the goal is achieved, covering tracks. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. I hope you found it useful. Stay safe and I'll see you in the next one. Okay friends, today is about DNS spoofing attacks. First, DNS stands for Domain Name System. Sometimes this is referred to as DNS cache poisoning. This is basically a cyber attack that manipulates the domain name system to redirect network traffic. Basically, what DNS does is translate human-readable domain names like youtube.com into an IP address that a computer can understand. DNS spoofing is maliciously associating a domain name with a different IP address. Okay, let's explain this in a different way. Imagine the internet is a huge city and each website you visit is like a house in that city. Usually, to find the house that you are after, you would use a map. DNS is the map for the internet. When you type youtube.com, your browser asks the internet for the DNS, the map, for the address, like the house number of where that website lives online. Now, this is where spoofing comes in. So imagine if someone gave your browser the wrong address on purpose. Instead of going to the right house, you end up going to a different one. This is basically what happens in a DNS spoofing attack. Someone with malicious intent gives your browser the wrong DNS information to direct you to a fake website. They do this because they may be trying to trick you into giving away your password or personal information. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. I hope you found it useful. Stay safe and I'll see you in the next one. Okay friends, I really wanted to make a video about this one. Today is about shell shock attacks. Sometimes this is referred to as a shell shock bash bug. Actually, most of the time it is referred to as the shell shock bash bug. Shell shock is a vulnerability in the bash shell. Bash stands for Born Again Shell, which is a command line window where users run commands that cause actions in the Unix system. Bash is a basic component of any Unix-based environment. It is like a smart robot that you can talk to by typing words or commands. No graphics. Well, sometimes you can create your own if you choose to. It has many tools that you can use to run commands, execute scans, list what is on a system, and so on. What this bug does is change the Unix environment variables to allow a hacker to manipulate these variables to inject malicious code into Bash and basically execute code remotely on any target system that would use Unix. Sorry, I know, that was boring. Okay, let's explain this using analogy. Imagine your computer is like a very fancy house, and the commands you give it are like telling the house what to do and how to do it. Many people like to buy this type of house because it has many functions and is basically a smart house, so people love it. Now, think of Bash as a special butler inside your house, maybe like a robot butler. This robot takes your commands and does what you want. One of this robot's tools is a bucket. Let's call this robot Bash. Remember? Born again shell? But there was a problem with this robot, Bash. It had a weakness, more like a hole in his bucket. You know, one of the tools it came with? Bad guys found out they could sneak in through this hole and tell this robot to do things the owner of the house did not want. So, for example, the robot, Bash, can now do naughty stuff, like open the door for them when it was not supposed to, or when the owner is not in the house. Remember, the fancy house is your computer. And if this happens, bad people can just run things remotely inside your house, or in this case, your computer. Now, because people liked this type of smart houses, aka the computers that run Bash, this meant that a lot of houses were not safe when this bug was discovered because many people owned this type of houses. Now, the good people who take care of such houses quickly fixed the hole by giving the robot a special badge, like fixing the hole in the bucket. And then they told everyone to update the robot, Bash, so that the bad guys couldn't use the hole anymore. So what do we learn from this? The lesson here is that sometimes the tools we use to talk to our computers can have problems, but the good people who take care of our computers are always working to keep us safe. And just like we lock our front doors to keep our real houses safe, we need to always update our computers, robots, to keep our digital environment safe as well. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. I hope you found it useful. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Hello friends! Today is about evil twin attacks. This is a malicious form of cyber attack that preys on the unsuspecting trust users place in public Wi-Fi networks. This type of attack is based on setting up an access point similar to a one that you would set up in a real network. This is where the name evil twin attack comes from. Two access points that look the same, so you know evil twin, one is good and the other is evil. Anyway, the goal is to trick individuals into unknowingly connecting to the bad network, thinking it's the good one. Usually, this access point has a name similar to the real one with few characters that anyone could miss. Once connected, the attacker can listen on communications, intercept sensitive information, or even launch more severe attacks like man-in-the-middle exploits. This type of attack usually happens in public places, so remember that next time you connect to the public Wi-Fi of your favorite coffee shop. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Remember to use a password manager. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Hello friends! Today might be one of the most important videos I'm going to make on the channel. We're talking about AI-powered cyber attacks. These types of attacks are the most powerful cyber threats out there. Cyber criminals have mastered the use of AI in order to execute cyber attacks. The use of AI in cybersecurity can have multiple types, but imagine the following scenario. a deep fake attack that implements a real voiceover that uses a phishing email based on personal information retrieved from online sources about the target and executes it using AI. And that is just one example. AI can be used to automate various stages of cyber attacks. For example, malicious hackers may use machine learning algorithms to scan for vulnerabilities in networks or systems, identify potential targets, and deploy malware. Social engineering is also another aspect affected by AI. Artificial intelligence can enhance phishing attacks by creating more convincing and personalized messages. AI enables cyber criminals to create dynamic and adaptive threats. These were just examples of what AI can do in the cybersecurity space. Defending against these types of attacks can be very challenging, which is why security teams need to be up to date on the latest attacks and implement the most robust cybersecurity policies. That can happen by investing in the best security tools and conducting regular audits. It's important to note that while AI can be used for malicious purposes, it also plays a crucial role in cybersecurity defense. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember to use a VPN. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Hello friends! Today is about brute force attacks. Brute force attacks rely on weak credentials. When this happens, the goal behind a brute force attack is to gain unauthorized access. These types of attacks can be either simple or hybrid. They work perfectly on websites that don't use a web application firewall. On the other hand, if your website has a web application firewall configured, the bad actor, aka the malicious hacker, will receive a 403 forbidden error. In simple terms, imagine you have a secret number to get into your treehouse, and you are worried someone might try to guess it. A brute force attack is like someone trying every possible number until they get it right. So, instead of trying to figure out the number in a smart and lucky way, they just try every single combination. They might start with 001, then 002, and keep going until they find the right one. Think of the Keymaker character in the Matrix movie. He is the human representation of a password cracking tool. Now, in the digital world, when people talk about a brute force attack, they mean someone trying all possible passwords to get into an account or a computer. It's like trying every key in the world until one unlocks the door. Sometimes bad actors use special tools to help them do this really fast. Prevention and protection are the best ways to protect against these types of attacks. To stay secure, it's important to use strong and unique passwords, so it's much harder for someone to guess or figure them out. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember to use a password manager. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Hello friends. Today we talk about fileless malware attacks. These types of malicious attacks happen without the need for traditional executable files to be stored on a system's hard drive. Unlike other malware that relies on files to execute malicious actions, fileless malware operates by residing in the system's volatile memory, aka the RAM. These attacks are based on stealth and evasion. It can evade traditional security measures, making detection and mitigation more challenging for antivirus programs. These types of attacks leverage scripts and system tools to carry out malicious activities directly in the computer's memory. This allows attackers to blend in with normal system activities. Detecting and mitigating fileless malware requires advanced security measures. Let's use analogies to explain these types of attacks. Imagine your computer is a castle and you have guards, antivirus programs that protect it from bad people, like malware, who try to sneak in. Usually, the bad people use secret codes stored in files to break into your castle and do bad things. But there is this special type of a bad guy. Let's call him the fileless malware. Unlike others, this bad guy doesn't need to store secret codes in files. He's a spy who can do bad things without leaving any traces behind. So instead of using the usual secret codes, this bad guy uses tricks and tools already inside your castle. Remember? Your computer. To cause trouble. So when this spy comes into your castle, he doesn't leave footprints, like files, for the guards to find. That spy works quietly in the shadows, making it harder for the guards to catch him. This makes him a bit like a ninja who doesn't follow the usual rules. So, this type of attack can happen when you click on things you shouldn't click on, or when the castle's guards miss the unusual activity. Or even worse, the bad guy might want to steal things from your castle or mess up how it works. To protect your castle, your computer, from these tricky attacks, the guards need special training. Remember? Advanced cybersecurity measures. These measures include learning how to watch out for unusual behavior, like when things happen in the castle that don't normally happen. And finally, this attack is another reason why you should never use your personal devices when it comes to your professional work, storing personal information or commercial data. Always use managed company devices. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember to always keep your devices protected, updated, and backed up. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. DLL stands for Dynamic Link Library. Every operating system has DLL files. This is a library used to share files and resources on the operating system to run programs and applications. DLL is the foundation for running an operating system for efficiency and productivity. DLL files contain the code that programs and applications can use and share to run on the operating system without the need to install a new file every time you run a new program or an application. Many programs and applications can even use a single DLL file at the same time. Remember? Efficiency and productivity. This is how DLL files work on the operating system when you run an application or a program. When you open an application, your operating system searches for the required DLLs in a certain order. This search order includes the application and system directories. When the DLL file is loaded in the memory, any application on the operating system that needs the code inside that DLL can use it at the same time. A hacker can take advantage of this process and execute a DLL hijacking attack in the following way. They can place a malicious DLL file with the same name as the real one on your system. You might ask, how did that get into my system in the first place? Well, maybe you clicked on a phishing link that was sent to your company email. Anyway, when you run an application on your system, it will use that malicious code inside the fake DLL file. This happens by taking advantage of weak file permissions to write or replace DLLs in directories where applications have write access. By placing a malicious DLL in a directory where the application looks for DLLs, the attacker can trick the application into loading the malicious code instead of the real library file. DLL hijacking can be used as one step in a broader attack strategy, like privilege escalation, for example, and taking control of your computer and organization files. The best way to prevent this type of attack is to implement secure coding practices by developers and always update and patch your systems. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember, don't click on links that you're not sure about and use a VPN. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Spear phishing is the next step in the scheme of general phishing attacks. Perpetrator customizes their approach for a specific individual or company. Unlike regular phishing, which sends a broad net in the hopes of luring in any unsuspecting victim, spear phishing involves a more personalized and tailored strategy. A successful spear phishing attack works in a certain manner. The malicious attacker conducts comprehensive research on the target to gather information. This is not a shot in the dark. The attacker knows the target, then starts spoofing the sender's identity to make the communication appear legitimate. Then a deceptive message is crafted in a highly relevant manner to the target. The final step is delivery, which usually happens via email channels. The content of the message is designed to get the target to take a specific action, such as clicking on a malicious link. An example of spear phishing could be to target an executive assistant at an organization in order to get to the high-value individuals who work there. The best way to protect against these types of attacks is to use different protective measures like user training, email filtering, and activating multi-factor authentication. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember to use a password manager. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Blue bugging is a silent attack that allows malicious hackers to silently sneak into Bluetooth-enabled devices without the users ever realizing it. It is the Houdini of cyber attacks. It sneaks into your devices without you even knowing. It's the ultimate stealth mode for hackers. Imagine someone gaining access without leaving a digital footprint. Blue bugging can be the starting point of another relevant attack called blue snarfing. This is the sneaky cousin of blue bugging, grabbing your information without you suspecting a thing. Blue snarfing is a related technique where the attacker gains unauthorized access to information on the target device, such as contact lists, calendar entries, or messages without the user's knowledge. But today, we focus on the fundamentals of blue bugging attack. Bluetooth, the technology that connects our devices, can become a vulnerable gateway for attackers. Blue bugging exploits this gateway, allowing unauthorized access and even device control. This happens by exploiting a security vulnerability in the Bluetooth protocol. BetterCap is one of the tools used by hackers in Kali Linux in order to start executing this type of attack. At the end, knowledge is power, and understanding blue bugging is the first step towards safeguarding our digital spaces. At the moment, one of the most useful ways to protect ourselves against this type of attack is to disable Bluetooth when not in use. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember to activate multi-factor authentication. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Man-in-the-middle hackers are like digital chameleons, blending into your online activity unnoticed. By the end of this video, you will be armed with knowledge to safeguard your digital communication, and you will also know what tools hackers use in Kali Linux to execute such attacks. The goal behind this attack is to gain access to the target's online activity and manipulate sensitive data. This attack works by first installing a packet sniffer on the target's network to intercept insecure traffic. Such action allows the attacker to control the network traffic flow. Several techniques can be used to achieve this goal, like ARP and DNS spoofing. ARP spoofing works when the attacker sends false ARP messages to link their MAC addresses with the IP address of a legitimate device on the network, causing traffic to be redirected through the attacker's system. The attacker can use spoofing tools such as ARP spoof or DriftNet in Kali Linux to send out false ARP responses. Once achieved, the hacker implements a DNS spoofing strategy. This involves manipulating the DNS resolution process and redirecting users to malicious websites by providing false IP addresses. In Kali, a hacker can use multiple tools like Perp Suite or DNS spoof to direct the target to their desired address. This way, the attacker can intercept and modify the data exchanged during communication. The best way to mitigate man-in-the-middle attacks is to use a VPN because it will encrypt your online activity. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember to use a password manager. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.
The difference between a brute force attack and a dictionary attack is that a brute force attack implements all possible combinations, while a dictionary attack uses a predefined list. This is where the word dictionary comes from. A precompiled list of words, phrases, or commonly used passwords that the attacker systematically tests against user accounts. This attack involves systematically attempting to gain unauthorized access to a computer system or an account. In this scenario, the attacker uses automated tools to systematically try each entry in the dictionary as a potential password for a targeted account. A dictionary attack is more focused and efficient, unlike brute force attacks, where an attacker systematically tries every possible combination of characters. The best way to protect against this type of attack is to use a password manager. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember to activate multi-factor authentication. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Consider the teardrop attack as a cyber puzzle that aims to trick the computer by manipulating the components of IP packets and their assembly. Although this is an old attack, if you have old IT devices or you haven't upgraded or updated your security infrastructure, this will affect your IT space. So, old devices connected to the internet will be affected by this attack. This type of attack is also called a type of IP fragmentation attack, basically, oversized payload. How the teardrop attack works is simple. For more effective transmission, data is frequently divided into smaller pieces before being sent over the internet. The operating system of the recipient reassembles these pieces of data. These pieces are often referred to as IP packets. An offset field in the IP packets indicates where the fragment was located in the original and complete packet before it was sent to the target. Using this data in the IP packet, the receiving system reassembles the whole packet. In a teardrop attack, the hacker modifies this offset fields in the IP packet such that when the pieces are rebuilt, the reassembling system overlaps and incorrectly reconstructs the fragments. The tampered pieces in the IP packet may cause the buffer of the receiving system to overflow or become overloaded. The system may crash, hang, or become unstable as a result of this. This achieves the goal of a teardrop attack: to execute a denial of service attack by interfering with a computer or network's regular operation. Think of it this way: you send your target a lengthy letter that you broke up into smaller chunks rather than mailing it all at once. Your target gathers the components of your message. The components of the message basically represents the IP packet fragments. So, in the context of a teardrop attack, you tamper with the directions for reassembling the parts of the message. You may say, start reading from piece number 3, then jump to piece number 2, and go back to 1, and so on. The instructions should be obvious, but you want to purposefully confuse your target. This confusion is basically the teardrop attack, which later on leads to the buffer overflow, resulting in a denial of service attack. Different mitigations can be implemented to prevent this attack. This type of attack happens at the network layer. So, adding the right firewall configurations to filter large amounts of data is the first step. Then you can implement and configure cache servers. What these servers do is basically add all the incoming data in a temporary storage ahead of reaching the designated destination to make sure they don't overwhelm the target. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember to activate multi-factor authentication. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. ICMP stands for Internet Control Message Protocol. This is a network protocol. It exists at the network layer of the OSI model. ICMP is often utilized by tools like the ping command to check the reachability of a device. It works like this. The ping command sends an ICMP echo request message to the target device on the network. If the device is reachable, it responds with an ICMP echo reply message. ICMP ping flood attack takes advantage of this process and weaponizes it. The malicious actor can send a huge number of ICMP echo request messages to a target system or device within a short period of time. When this happens, the target device cannot handle such an overwhelming number of requests because it is beyond the capability of its bandwidth and processing power. The goal behind an ICMP ping flood is to cause a denial of service attack. This is just one of too many ways to execute a DOS attack. The huge volume of incoming ICMP requests can overwhelm the target's network. ICMP ping floods can be amplified by using multiple attacking systems, also known as bots. Malicious actors can even use reflection techniques to bounce ICMP requests off other systems to hide their origin and cover their tracks. There are many ways to defend against ICMP ping floods. Most of the time, network administrators can configure intrusion detection and prevention systems, as well as firewalls to filter the incoming traffic. Additionally, they could even disable ICMP as a security measure and enable it only when they need to. Think of these defense mechanisms like having a bouncer at a club, ensuring not too many people come in all at once. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember to use a VPN. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. The Greek myth of the wooden horse that was used to sneak into Troy is where the word Trojan horse originates. You should also know that this sneaky war strategy is not entirely unique to the Trojan War or Greek history. The writings of the ancient Chinese military tactician Sun Tzu provide one noteworthy incident that predates the Trojan War. In his well-known book, The Art of War, Sun Tzu described a strategy called the empty fort strategy. This strategy was built on the idea that soldiers would occupy an undefended fortress to give their enemies the impression of a false sense of security. Nowadays, in the online space, these types of attack strategies are employed by malicious hackers as a means of system intrusion and compromise of computer infrastructure. Employing this tactic can make the software, email, or website you are interacting with appear harmless, but in fact conceals harmful elements. Social engineering is one of the tactics used to execute such attacks, which tricks users into unknowingly installing such malicious software. The Trojan horse executes its installation procedure after it has gained access to a system. This might entail altering already existing data, constructing backdoors, or introducing malicious code into trustworthy software. The Trojan horse's real dangerous component is called the payload. The goal behind the harmful payload might be anything from spyware or keyloggers to viruses and ransomware. Trojan horses can come in multiple types. A well-known type is called remote access Trojans or RATs. The goal behind this type of malware is to gain unauthorized access to a victim's computer or device. Once inside the victim's system, malicious hackers can do as they like. This gives them the ability to steal confidential data or use the compromised device as a component of a bigger botnet for nefarious purposes. Trojans have a wide range of malevolent activities. Once installed, they frequently strive to establish a permanent presence on the compromised system. One of the advanced techniques used by malicious hackers in order to create the perfect Trojan horse is implementing evasion techniques inside the payload. To evade detection, the payload may be programmed to include polymorphic code. This is basically code that can change its appearance frequently, or in certain circumstances, the payload may contain rootkit capabilities. Basically, what that means is that they have the ability to hide their presence from security tools and evade detection. Trojan horses or rats can create suspicious behavior on the target system, like excessive pop-ups and the loss of keyboard and mouse control. Knowledge and user education are the best weapons when it comes to defending against Trojan horses. This is in combination with powerful antivirus software, frequent system upgrades, and the implementation of solid network security measures. Additionally, make sure to download only verified software. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember to use a password manager. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Unlike the happy Smurf characters we all know about, the Smurf attack is a serious cybersecurity threat employed by hackers for malicious purposes. This type of attack happens at the network layer of the OSI model. By the end of this video, you will understand the meaning behind the name of this attack. Smurf attacks caused quite a commotion in the 1990s, when the internet was still in its early stages. For this attack to be successful, the hacker needs to spoof the IP address of its victim. IP spoofing means that hackers send IP packets from a false source address that doesn't belong to them in order to deceive recipients about the origin of the packet. Malicious hackers always try to hide their origins, and spoofing is the technique they use. Technically, this means that the attacker manipulates the source address field in the IP packet header to make it appear as if the packet is coming from a trusted source, when, in reality, it's from a different and often malicious source. Think of this network infrastructure. Let's say we have two devices. A is for the attacker, and B is for the target, and we also have about 3,000 hosts on the network. These hosts are basically the Smurfs. The attacker has an IP address of 4.4.4.4, and the target has an IP address of 4.4.4.5. The hacker will spoof the target IP address and send an ICMP echo request message to the 3,000 hosts on the network, which will make them think it is coming from the victim or the target device, meaning that the IP address sent from the hacker is now 4.4.4.5 and not 4.4.4.4. The act of changing of the IP address is the IP spoofing. This packet will now be sent to the router broadcast IP address, where the 3,000 hosts exist, and the router will believe it is coming from a trusted source. Once this huge number of hosts receive this spoofed ICMP echo request message, they will respond with a number of ICMP echo reply messages directed at the target. Remember, the target never sent this packet in the first place. Once the target receives this huge number of IP packets, the memory of the target, aka the buffer, will be overflown and overworked. This results in a buffer overflow, which will make the system of the target unavailable, causing a denial of service attack. This is one of too many attacks that can cause a denial of service that aims to consume the resources of the target. Think of it this way: someone with a malicious intent is using your number as theirs without telling you. Then this imposter sends a large group of people an invitation to a party you never arranged. The invitation here is the spoofed ICMP echo request message. Suddenly, all these people show up at your doorstep when you are not prepared, thinking that the message came from you, which in return overwhelms you and your resources. Although this is an old type of attack and can be mitigated with basic strategies, you should always consider updating your systems. This is why LCM or lifecycle management projects at any organization are important. LCM projects aim to keep the hardware equipment as well as the software applications always updated in order to keep up with any type of security threats. Another way to mitigate such an attack is to disable the ping commands on your network devices and activate them only when needed. When it comes to the reason behind this name, the key similarity between the attack and the cartoon characters is the idea of a large group overwhelming a target. In cybersecurity, naming conventions always aim to provide a quick and recognizable reference for a specific attack type based on its characteristics. This is why the name Smurf attack captures the essence of this attack, a coordinated and amplified assault, much like the way the Smurfs work together. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember to use a VPN. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Although the name may give the impression of a cyber attack executed while driving, drive-by downloads happen when you drive by a website. Driving by a website is just another way of saying you are visiting or browsing a website. In this type of cyber threat, the malware is automatically downloaded and installed on a user's device without their knowledge or consent. The mere action of opening a web page or hovering your mouse over a malicious advertisement can trigger such malware. Sometimes, you don't need to click on any links or download anything. Technically speaking, this type of malware attack can be implemented in different ways. One of the ways to implement this attack is during the three-way handshake connection of the TCP/IP protocol. The last acknowledgement packet can initiate the malware download and inject it into your system. Another method used by malicious hackers is the use of iframes. An iframe is short for inline frame. This is an HTML element used to embed another document or web page within the current document. Secure coding practices are encouraged by software engineers to spot these snippets of code. In very few cases, this type of attack can take advantage of advertisements and banner pop-ups. The problem with this type of attack is that it is hard to detect and doesn't require any type of interaction by the user to download. It can happen on any type of website, whether it is good or malicious. Adult content and file-sharing websites are known to be the best places to initiate such attacks. Also, be vigilant about anyone offering you free stuff online. Try to always keep your internet browser and operating system up to date. Awareness and common sense also encourage to avert this attack. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember to use a VPN. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. The first ever recorded ransomware attack dates back to 1989. It was called the Age Trojan, and cybercriminals demanded users send money to a post office box in Panama. Nowadays, ransomware attacks have become so sophisticated. Cybercriminals now offer customer support to assist victims in paying the ransom and restoring their files. Yes, you heard it right. Ransomware with a help desk. In simple terms, ransomware is a type of malicious software. It is designed to deny access to a computer system or files until a sum of money, or ransom, is paid. There are different ways that ransomware can infiltrate the system. This can happen via phishing emails, malicious attachments, or compromised websites, or even a public Wi-Fi. Once inside, the malware encrypts files, making them unreadable. Ransomware attacks can come in different forms. The first is locker ransomware. This type blocks standard computer functions from being accessed until payment is transferred to the hacker. Then there is scareware. This type of ransomware is basically fake software that claims to have detected a virus or other issue on your computer. Then it directs you to pay to resolve the problem. Ransomware can cause data loss or data breaches. To protect yourself from data loss, always make sure to have backups of your data. And in the event of data breaches, one thing that can mitigate this issue is having strong access controls in place. This is where multi-factor authentication comes in. This ensures that only the right people have the access they need. There are many other prevention methods out there, like updating your systems with the latest security patches and having strong antivirus programs installed. If you ever find yourself in a position where you have been affected by ransomware, one of the things you can do is visit nomoreransom.org. This is a website that has a number of decryption tools for most known ransomware packages and, in some cases, can help decrypt specific encrypted files. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember to use a password manager. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. The ultimate goal of IP spoofing is to execute cyber attacks without being detected. Friends, today we talk about IP spoofing, but first, if you watch the whole video, by the end I will share with you a tip to protect yourself and your loved ones from social engineering situations. Every device connected to a network has an IP, or Internet Protocol address. When information is sent across the internet, it is sent in a packet with the source and destination IP addresses. Just like a letter sent to a mailbox, it has the details of the sender and the receiver. IP spoofing takes advantage of this process by faking the source IP address inside the packet. Malicious hackers take advantage of this process in order to hide their IP address when executing attacks on targets. They can even amplify this process by sending as many IP packets as possible in order to disrupt someone else's internet service via a denial of service attack. Hackers do this to fool the target device into trusting the source IP address in order to execute their hacking activities. One way to protect yourself from IP spoofing is to use a VPN, which encrypts your traffic and hides it from hackers. In today's world, hacking techniques have evolved significantly, and that includes social engineering situations. Unfortunately, social engineers can take advantage of people with good manners and intentions. One of the tricks used by social engineers is the use of business cards. Don't trust someone just because they have a business card. Social engineers use fake business cards to try to get access to certain places. If you're presented with a business card, always verify the information before taking any action. Remember to use a VPN. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. By the end of this video, you will know what a password spraying attack is. But first, here is the rule of thumb. You should never use applications that store passwords in plain text format. If they fall into the wrong hands, your accounts will be exposed. This is where hashing comes in. Hashing is different from encryption, simply because you can always decrypt the text back to its original format, unlike hashing, which turns plain text into a unique code that cannot be reverted back into a readable format. A brute force password attack is one of the most common techniques used by hackers to log into accounts. A brute force attack will try all possible combinations of letters, numbers, and characters in order to guess the right password until there is a hash match. The downside of using a brute force attack strategy is the possibility of getting locked out of an account for trying too many passwords. So, another method used by hackers is a password spraying attack. Instead of getting locked out of an account or getting a silent alarm triggered, a malicious hacker will try the same common passwords on multiple accounts, like 12345, the word password, and so on. If these passwords work for the attacker, then they have achieved their goal and executed an account takeover. If not, the attacker moves on to the next account to repeat the same process. Creating a strong password is necessary to avoid any password cracking attempts. This is why you should always consider using a password manager. And in the most unlikely event that your password is known, ensure that you activate multi-factor authentication to add an extra layer of security. I hope you found this video helpful. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Password hashing is one of the most important concepts to understand when it comes to password security. In secure systems, passwords are not stored in their raw form. Instead, they are transformed using cryptographic hash functions. The whole idea behind a hash function is to turn passwords into fixed-length character strings, making it difficult for attackers to reverse the process and recover the original password. Despite the secure process behind hashing, it's not 100% secure. The weakness lies in the fact that identical passwords will produce the same hash value. This is where attackers exploit this vulnerability and create pre-computed tables known as rainbow tables, filled with hash password pairs. Rainbow tables are massive databases and contain a multitude of possible passwords paired with their hashes. A man-in-the-middle attack can help in capturing hashes and comparing them against entries in their rainbow table. If there's a match, the corresponding password is revealed. Rainbow table attacks provide efficiency and speed because the tables are pre-computed. This removes the time-consuming process of hashing each password attempt during an attack. To mitigate the impact of rainbow table attacks, robust secure systems implement a technique called salting. In simple terms, salting is a technique that involves the addition of random data to each password before hashing. This guarantees that even identical passwords will have unique and different hash values, which mitigates the impact of rainbow table attacks. Remember to use a password manager. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. DNS stands for Domain Name System. DNS amplification attack is a form of denial of service attack strategy that weaponizes how DNS servers work. This includes sending large amounts of DNS requests to the server beyond its normal capacity. The requests are somehow spoofed to appear to be coming from a machine that the server knows. When that happens, the server responds with a large number of responses back to the victim's machine in order to disrupt their systems. This type of attack can stop users from accessing essential services. To mitigate the impact of such an attack, organizations can implement the best practices for DNS and network security configuration settings. Implementing detection and response plans is also another step to distinguish between authentic network traffic and irregular patterns that indicate a persistent attack. I hope you found this video helpful. Remember to use a VPN. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. On-path attack is also known as man-in-the-middle attack. The attacker monitors traffic between two workstations and can redirect or alter it without the knowledge of the users. Once the attacker positions themselves in this place, different types of attacks can be launched. This can include IP spoofing and op poisoning. On-path attack can also facilitate the process of implementing malware on your system. This attack can be executed using different methods, and there is no one solution for maximum protection. The best defense strategy is to implement a number of security procedures in place to mitigate the attack. This includes implementing HTTP strict transport security configurations on web servers. Additionally, ensuring that authentication policies are implemented adds an extra layer of security. And finally, having a strong incident response plan in place can assist in dealing with such attacks. I hope you found this video helpful. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. A newly identified security flaw that hackers might exploit to compromise systems is known as zero-day. The attacker takes advantage of an unknown security flaw in a computer software or even a hardware. The name zero-day represents the number of days a software engineer is aware of the vulnerability. The term zero-day can be associated with other terms like vulnerability, exploit, and threat. Zero-day vulnerability means that the owner of the software or the device has 0 days to address the vulnerability, since malicious hackers can already exploit it to get access to the systems. Zero-day exploit refers to the techniques used by hackers to target systems with undiscovered vulnerabilities. In a zero-day attack, a zero-day exploit is used to cause harm to a system that has a vulnerability. Zero-day attacks pose significant challenges to cybersecurity because they provide attackers with a valuable advantage: the element of surprise. Zero-day vulnerabilities can evade traditional security measures like antivirus software or intrusion detection systems. Detecting and responding to zero-day attacks often requires proactive monitoring, advanced threat detection techniques, and rapid patching or mitigation strategies. I hope you found this video helpful. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Capturing data across the network and retransmitting it, or in this case, replaying it as if it were coming from one party to another, is called a replay attack. The goal behind the replay attack can be to redirect the data, repeat it, manipulate it, or even delay it. The captured data can be login credentials or session IDs. Replay attacks can come in many forms, like a wireless replay attack, for example, where the attacker intercepts the communication between a wireless device and an access point. The goal behind a wireless replay is either to disrupt the service or gain unauthorized access. Another type is a JSON Web Token replay attack, where the attacker captures the authentication token and reuses it to access systems. Replay attacks can be either active or passive. In an active replay attack, the hacker intercepts the data, while in a passive one, the hacker merely monitors the traffic. Methods to prevent replay attacks involve using a VPN, a one-time password, and enabling multi-factor authentication. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. In light of recent events in Lebanon, the term supply chain attack comes up a lot. In simple terms, a supply chain is the series of steps involved in making a product and getting it to customers. These steps include suppliers, manufacturers, logistics providers, retailers, and customers. A supply chain attack targets the less secure elements within that supply chain in order to get to the main target. This approach often exploits trust relationships between organizations and their partners, making it a sneaky yet effective method for gaining access to sensitive data or systems. This type of attack can target hardware devices like what happened in Lebanon, or, in some cases, software applications similar to the attack that happened in 2020 known as the SolarWinds hack in the United States. A performance monitoring system called Orion was used to manage all the SolarWinds. In this breach, the hackers infiltrated the network systems and data of thousands of SolarWinds clients. To protect against such attacks, organizations can conduct thorough assessments of their suppliers' security practices, limit access to sensitive systems and data based on the principle of least privilege, and regularly monitor your supply chain for unusual activities or vulnerabilities. I hope you found the video helpful. Remember, if you are a professional working in the information technology industry, always avoid using your personal devices for work-related projects, whether you're an employee or a contractor, to limit any kind of security breaches. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. LAN attack is a type of a denial of service attack. LAN stands for Local Area Network Denial. This attack was first discovered in 1997. This involves sending a spoofed poison packet to a target device that causes it to become overwhelmed or unresponsive. It exploits vulnerabilities in the TCP/IP protocol stack to create a loop that keeps the system busy without processing any useful data. This is how it works. The malicious actor crafts the poisonous packet by sending a packet with the same source and destination IP address and source and destination port number. This tricks the target system into thinking it's sending a packet to itself. When the target system receives this packet, it attempts to respond. But since it sees its own IP as both the sender and receiver, it loops back the packet to itself, leading to endless processing of the same packet. As the system repeatedly tries to respond to itself, it consumes CPU, memory, and network resources, eventually slowing down or crashing. Users may experience lag or downtime because the system is too busy handling these self-directed packets. The malicious hacker can craft this packet by IP spoofing. This type of denial of service attack was more effective in older systems with limited DOS protection. At the time of discovering this attack, many systems were not designed to handle self-directed packets. The current protection against this attack is by configuring many modern networks to detect and block such self-referential packets at the firewall level or discard malformed packets. I hope you found the video helpful. Remember to disable Bluetooth when not in use. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Imagine plugging your phone into a public charging station and unknowingly handing over your data to hackers. Juicejacking is a type of cyber attack where malicious actors exploit public USB charging stations to compromise devices. Cybercriminals target these stations to turn convenience into chaos. Here's how it works and why it's dangerous. Public chargers in places like airports, malls, hotels, or cafes often serve as lifesavers when your device runs out of battery. However, these USB ports are more than just power sources, they also transmit data. Cybercriminals can modify these charging stations or USB cables to install malicious software or steal data from connected devices. Juicejacking comes in two forms: data theft and malware installation. Data theft happens when a device is connected. The attacker can access sensitive information such as passwords, contacts, emails, messages, or even stored financial data. For malware installation, the attacker uses the connection to inject malware or ransomware into the device. This malware can then monitor activities, steal data, or lock the device for ransom. Malicious actors use multiple techniques when executing juicejacking. The first is the use of compromised cables. An ordinary-looking USB cable may have been altered with hardware that enables data theft or malware injection. The second is infected charging stations. Attackers tamper with public USB ports to serve as a gateway for malware delivery. Finally, skimming devices. Similar to credit card skimmers, these can be hidden inside USB ports to record data from devices. Juicejacking is dangerous because it provides wide accessibility, like public charging stations, making them easy targets for attackers. This type of attack is a hidden threat. Users may not realize their device has been compromised until it's too late. Once executed successfully, this puts sensitive data at risk. This can include personal information, financial details, and private communications that can all be exposed. There are multiple ways to stay safe from such an attack. First, use a USB data blocker, also known as a USB condom. This device prevents data transfer, allowing only power to pass through. Next, carry your own charger. Use your adapter to connect to an electrical outlet instead of a USB port. Also, you could consider buying portable power banks. Charge your devices using a trusted power bank. Then, disable data transfer. When connecting to a USB port, ensure your device is set to charge-only mode. And finally, be cautious with cables. Avoid using public or unfamiliar cables. Juice jacking shows how convenience can quickly turn into a security risk. Staying aware of this threat and taking simple precautions can protect your devices and data from malicious actors. I hope you found this video helpful. And don't forget, tools like a VPN and a password manager are your best friends for staying safe online. Stay vigilant, protect your devices, and share this video to help others stay secure. See you in the next video. Did you know attackers can use your own browser to breach your network security? This technique is called a DNS rebinding attack, and it's a serious threat to businesses. A DNS rebinding attack is a technique used by attackers to bypass browser security and exploit networks behind a firewall. This is a browser vulnerability that sometimes can be used to attack IoT devices or to gain a foothold inside the enterprise perimeter. This attack can compromise security by exploiting the trust relationship between the browser and the internal network, allowing an attacker to execute malicious actions like data theft, service manipulation, or further network intrusion. This attack works like this. Browsers have same origin policy that prevents websites loaded from one origin from interacting with resources from another origin without explicit permission. DNS rebinding attacks are designed to work around the restrictions of the same origin policy. The attacker needs to control a malicious DNS server by setting it up to answer queries for a specific domain, such as example.com. Using techniques like phishing, the attacker tricks the victim into loading the malicious domain example.com in their browser. When the victim's browser requests the IP address for example.com, the attacker's DNS server initially responds with the real IP address of example.com. The attacker configures the DNS response with a very short time to live, for example 1 second, ensuring that the browser quickly expires the record and makes a new query. After the time to live expires, the browser makes another DNS request for example.com. This time, the attacker's server responds with an IP address from the victim's local network. Since the browser still sees the requests as originating from the same domain, example.com, the same origin policy restrictions are bypassed. Now the attacker has a foothold. The attacker can now interact with internal resources using the victim's browser. Potential actions include extracting sensitive information, disrupting business operations, performing unauthorized activities, and laying the groundwork for more extensive attacks. To defend against DNS rebinding attacks, restrict JavaScript execution, configure browsers with DNS pinning, and ensure all private services use HTTPS. Friends, as you can see from this video and other videos on the channel, most attacks start with a simple phishing strategy, so stay alert. I hope this video has helped you understand this attack, how it works, and how to defend against it. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more cybersecurity insights. Bluejacking is a Bluetooth-based attack where an attacker sends unsolicited messages to nearby Bluetooth-enabled devices, such as smartphones, tablets, or laptops. It exploits a feature in Bluetooth that allows users to send business cards or text messages via the Object Exchange Protocol. Object Exchange is a communications protocol that facilitates binary transfers between Bluetooth-enabled devices. It works like this. The attacker uses a Bluetooth-enabled device to search for nearby discoverable devices. Instead of sending a legitimate contact or file, the attacker sends an anonymous message, often designed to confuse or trick the recipient. Since bluejacking doesn't grant full access to the target device, the attack is usually harmless but can be used for spam, pranks, or social engineering. While bluejacking is generally seen as a nuisance rather than a critical cybersecurity risk, it highlights the need for Bluetooth security awareness. Disabling Bluetooth when not in use and keeping devices non-discoverable can help prevent such attacks. I hope you found this video helpful. I'll see you in the next one.